Hello and welcome to today's session. We're talking about Copilot for sales today. I'm Björn, and with me I have Magnus. Welcome, Magnus.
Thanks for having me.
Copilot for sales, can you kind of just briefly explain what it is and how it could potentially benefit us in the manufacturing industry?
Essentially, it's an automation tool, in short. We could leave it there and leave, and not see each other again, but I'm going to deep dive a bit more, right? So it's about automating processes. It's about increasing productivity. It's about getting more insights to the data you have in sales, and eventually also help with the engagement with your customers. So all of that packaged together in a name called Copilot, and essentially it's for you to spend more time closing those deals faster, right?
Yeah. So a typical scenario that we would come across, in manufacturing would be that the deals are, you want to base those, your quote, your offer on something that you have done before, but the documentation of those cases are kind of disparate and they're, all over the place. And so kind of, would that be a place where the Copilot could say, okay, please?
Absolutely. I mean, the sheer amount of details you normally go through, especially in manufacturing sales cases, that you need to go through and understand before you can even make an initial offer, right? And you need to spend that time to get in through the door.
Exactly.
So we want to cut that lead time down to the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So it's all about removing all that manual labor, all that clicking to automate that and give you like quick, fast insights to automatically get to a place where you can send a quote or maybe not send a quote, because it's all about that as well.
Yeah, you're right. So if you are not to send a quote, you turn it around and have a different form of interacting with the client. What could that be, for instance?
It needs to fit, your normal process. So Copilot by itself doesn't change how you work. It boosts how you work. So let's say that you have a few certain questions you need to ask yourself in order to get to the next step. And normally you would do a lot of analysis. You would check previous quotes, competitor quotes, and all that. All that can be done now through natural language through the Copilot. You just ask it what you want. Yeah. And you don't need to bring yourself to a place where you train yourself to understand where to click and which view you go in the system. Yeah. So it's more like a human language interface where you get all the information you need to quickly get to insights whether you want to do a quote or not.
Yeah. So kind of the classic example, if you are in, let's say, machine manufacturing and stuff like that, is that kind of the information you can get from the client is not always very structured. It's an idea, it's a concept, and a drawing. We like to say on the back of a napkin, and you need to provide a quote. You need to provide also some pricing based on that. Is that because thinking about pricing, first offer, you'll be held to that to some extent. So you need to kind of have an idea that this price is valid and based on something. Is that also a scenario?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're going from lead to a potential sale, I mean, first it's all about understanding which leads to attack first. So that insight Copilot helps you with, and then when you're starting to work with the leads that actually matter for you, that the highest probability, then it doesn't really matter where the information is or what documents are attached to this lead case. You can all discuss it through the same channel because, all leads are different. But that doesn't change the way you can approach using Copilot. You can just still ask the same questions, and the Copilot will find the information necessary for you to understand whether you want to move along with this lead or not.
Yeah, and I guess it'll do it based on information that you have in your own company. It's not like it's
not only that. That's where it's get really exciting. Yeah. It's not only within the company. You can extend the Copilot's functionality outside the realms of the Dynamics ecosystem. So you can actually use other apps. You can use public available data as well if you want to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so you kind of mash up the internal data with external sources to kind of provide a consistent.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then when you understood that you need to produce a lead and you want to have that interaction with the customer, it can help you with that engagement as well. Come up with a good email, find new information, because there might be information that you're missing. You can just ask Copilot, produce an email which asks for this information, and it does it, and then you can approve it and just send.
Yeah. How about then the kind of the structuring of now you've sent the email and now you have interaction with the customer, and I guess you want to structure that typically into CRM systems, stuff like that, where you kind of want to extract information of your communication. Is that also something that you can?
Absolutely. So you have all the features of the CRM system as of before. Copilot is just an addition to all that. So that you can do without the Copilot, actually. So see the Copilot more like a super assistant, adding that automation that you need, doing things autonomously before you need to get involved. That productivity, helping you to fill out information that's you would do manually. Giving you opportunity to use that time elsewhere in a to close more deals. That's essentially the whole idea about the concept, right? And then that insights, getting that insights to the data with your words. In the past, before a Copilot, if we were looking at like before and after Copilot situation, you had to know where in an application you need to move. But now with Copilot, we're thinking AI first instead. We're going to one place instead of you learning where to go in the system, because that's the difference also. You can get these junior workers in quickly, and they just ask what they need to get in order to close that deal fast.
Yeah, and I guess also a typical situation that we see is that you do not find the information you need in one application. You need to go across applications and maybe also refer to a document or SharePoint list or whatever it is. It's really challenging and time-consuming also. So I guess that you could benefit from Copilot there as well.
Absolutely. So concept like SharePoint and there's a lot of places where you can store data. So when we're asking about a specific product, for example, that you want to quote, you can reach out to the SharePoint storage and find that information there and bring it back to the conversation. So you don't really need to move away from the Copilot experience at all. You can just stay there. And you can even ask it to produce a lead record. So let's say you have an email coming in. You're actually in your Copilot in your email inbox, not in your Dynamics app, because it's all transcendent, right? Doesn't really matter where you work with Copilots. It's cross applications, as you mentioned. And then you ask it, produce a lead for this with the necessary information, and it will go through your email conversation and produce a lead with the valuable information that you need to close the deal fast.
Yeah, so it's actually helping us also to up our data quality in our CRM and or because that's in my experience that's often a challenge, in most organizations. Not only manufacturing, but it's kind of to make sure that you have sufficient data so that you can actually use your CRM data. Is that
Not only that, it's even more exciting because in the past, I think a lot of CRM system has been you need to input system data, but you don't understand what value it gives you, right? So you want to remove that entire step. So you just want to get the value from the data, not the actual work of inputting the data, right? So that needs to be automated, making you a lot more productive. And as you said, if you're a lazy salesperson, because most salespersons are lazy, right?
I guess so.
No offense, but you want to get a minimum effort to get a close deal. So what happens is normally that you don't spend quality time to actually make good inputs, right? As you said. Now you get everything immediately. Yeah. And that can be an overload as well, right? So we have the insight step as well. So if you go into a deal that somebody else worked on and spent, years, because in manufacturing, it can take a long time. It can be hundreds of documents.
Simple,
that
yeah.
need to-
You can have a year or more where you're kind of shaping this deal and you're working with and this is the stack of documents in all sorts of systems, maybe even across people. You change sales rep or change engineer, whatever during the process. So it's really so having kind of the ability to interact with that information, gather. I guess it's going to be a massive productivity improvement.
Yeah, you imagine yourself, you get that call, right? And says, where are we with this deal? And just ask the Copilot, summarize the last few months in interactions with this customer.
Yeah.
And you get that like in a 30-second kind of readable window, instead of spending 2 hours to get an update to your manager. To incorporate this in your organizations is essentially to get into a workshop to understand your specific pain points, right? Because we can talk about generic functionality within the Copilot, but what's really interesting is matching these features to your organization's specific needs. Because you might have a well-drilled sort of sales organization, but not as good in other areas. So that's really the point. So I think the first step in order to get the Copilot into your organization is have that conversation.
Yeah, and I guess in manufacturing, the sales process tend to be rather technical. You need to kind of go through R&D steps and engineering departments and stuff like that. So kind of to make sure that it fits that particular application, I guess will require some interaction also. And I guess that's where we in Columbus have experience talking to the various clients within this and working with various clients within this industry. So yeah,
that's a very valid point, because Copilot in itself is just, in my world, a tool. In order to work with a tool in the best manner, you need to understand how to use it, and you need to understand where to use it. So from our experience within Columbus, we've delivered hundreds of manufacturing ERP and CRM projects, right? So with that experience, plus the Copilot knowledge, we can add value to your organization. That's essentially why you need Columbus in between.
Can you mention any specific cases, where we kind of get very much into the nitty-gritty stuff where we are? An example?
Yeah, I got one. It's when, you have to deal with all that vendor information before you can send that first proposal, right? Because you might not have everything on in inventory. So you need to go out there with subcontractors and understand that. And they're all different. So you get this 100-page document and you need to produce your products and offerings from that. So we're using Copilot features to automatically turn vendor documents into release products that we can use in the sales process.
Okay, so you're actually extracting information from various documents in disparate formats. So it's just, and then you are inputting that to a system that requires kind of structured data and precise formatting.
Exactly like that. So the CRM system, the sales system, requires structured data when it comes in as rows, right? Because you need to attach a quantity and an amount and all that. But it's not enough with just a name. You need properties. So in manufacturing, you might need hundreds of variables and properties before you can actually sell anything. And that needs to be structured in a way that has the look and feel that you want to represent, right? So what this does is consuming this out from a content perspective, because the traditional method is looking at specific areas in documents and finding, here's a product name and here's a quantity. What we do, we just look at it out from a content perspective. We understand and consume the content. It doesn't really matter which language it is or typos. We don't care. We change typos and mistakes and turn it into the format that we wish to use.
And that can be from 3 potential vendors, same item. You have requirements for the same nature of the data in your system, but they might come in 3 different layouts or languages or whatever.
Yeah, the AI doesn't care about that. It just looks out from a content perspective rather than anything else.
Okay, great example. And I guess really a place where we could kind of utilize the AI to improve both accuracy of the data, but also efficiency in data.
Absolutely, but all those. And in this particular case that I last worked on, we went from like 8 hours to 15 minutes in this part of the process. So you can imagine the time saving. And it gives them an ability to offer more customers, but otherwise they need to do that filtering a lot tougher, right, initially, because they don't have the time to spend. So they need to find that opportunity. Now they can attack more opportunities, and the look and feel is a lot better.
Yeah, and it's typically, I guess, high cost hours that you would kind of consume these 8 hours. It wouldn't be your entry-level employee, it would actually be skilled employees.
Has to be years of knowledge,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Great. Thank you very much for sharing your insights today. And thank you all for listening in. If you have any questions or requirements, please just reach out, and we're here to help. Thank you.